Hey, I know it's been over a week. God's been giving me a lot of dreams, but they've been more about myself. And then I prayed to Him to give me some dreams that I can share about the world around us and to teach me about the world around me. And so, of course, He gives me something that I don't want to talk about. So here's my dream. He works like that, doesn't he? All right, so I was in grade school, middle school, high school, I'm not sure, and they were teaching content that is controversial, such as CRT, which God has talked to me about in my dreams previously, and also social and emotional learning. And I was like, no, we're not going to be taught this. So they put me and my fellow classmates that didn't want to be taught that material in a trailer outside the school, or a couple trailers outside the school. So we were segregated from the rest of the school. And we were told that we have to keep up with our own studies as well as fight them in court. So not only did we have to learn, but we had to fight them in court. And all the while we were hitting roadblocks and hurdles. For example, like the administration on court day would go, "Oh, you've got a fever, Ginger. You can't come in. You can't go to the courtroom if you have a fever. You're sick." And of course, somebody else took my temperature. She does not have a fever. Sound familiar? Some things that we're kind of encountering now, using sickness to be able to get their way on things. So God is saying a lot of different things in this dream. Anyway, we kept up with our own studies. We fought them in court. We won. And also we took our exams, and we were way more academically ready than the group who was being taught this content. And then I woke up. So, to me, this dream doesn't need a whole lot of interpretation, but God had been teaching me some stuff as I've been unpacking this dream today. So let's just kind of talk about it. All right, so you have this, the school that is teaching some controversial content. So let's talk about that. We have CRT, which is critical race theory. From what I have seen and what I have personally been exposed to, it promotes victimhood, even in people who don't feel like they are victims. It promotes victimhood. It promotes awareness of your own privilege. These are not of God. God has talked to me about CRT in several dreams. He does not like it. He never sheds a positive light on it. It's always a negative light on it. It is not godly. There's nowhere in the Bible where we should be saying, "Oh, I have privilege over somebody else." Everything good comes from God. Those are blessings. And when we have blessings, we need to bless others. When you define things as blessings over privilege, it takes on a whole different meaning, a more positive meaning and not a negative meaning. And nowhere in the Bible does He teach victimhood, always rising above it. So CRT is not of God. So if you are part of an organization, especially a religious-based organization or church, and you're teaching CRT, you better start asking God where He wants you to be on that. Ask Him to make sure that you are in alignment with Him and His will. Ask Him for dreams. Communicate to me what you want me to know about CRT. So the same thing, I was not expecting this, but the same thing goes for social and emotional learning. So there's new curriculum out. I guess it's probably been out longer than I think, but I haven't really been aware of it until recently, called social and emotional learning. And just full disclosure, I've spent many a year in therapy. Most of my coworkers are therapists. and a lot of my family have been to therapy. We promote healthy mentality and healthy emotions, and a good, strong, solid mindset. And so, of course, therapy is something that we promote. I feel like Being immersed in your emotions and knowing your emotions is very, very healthy. So when you hear social emotional curriculum, you might be like, okay, this is great. We're teaching people to know their feelings and process their emotions and all of that. Well, there is, I didn't think much about it until I heard about a group in Tennessee who is suing their state because of their curriculum, their social and emotional awareness curriculum. And they have spent thousands of hours analyzing the curriculum. And it made me a little concerned reviewing what they have found. They're suing on the base that it is critical race theory, and I can see where they got that. For me, what was scary was what was being taught emotional wise. So they looked at the teacher's manual. There's 32 pages in the teacher's manual. It teaches, I don't know if this is for one grade or if it's for the whole span. The curriculum covers kindergarten through 8th grade. They looked at the 32 pages of the teacher's manual, and 22 of them had the teacher probing children's emotions, all right? So they analyzed the emotions, and anger and being mad was the top emotion, and it was mentioned 154 times. Sad was the next top emotion at 79 times, and then happy is the next top emotion at 41. Yeah. So you have these negative emotions and then this happy emotion. The next one is scared at 19 and excited at 18 references. And there was more negative emotions mentioned in those 22 pages than there were positive emotions. To me, the only person who should be teaching emotions is one parent or two, a trained therapist. Teachers are not prepared. I used to be a teacher. We are not prepared, and we are not trained like counselors to deal with emotions. And when you're talking about shame, that is a very, very, very tricky emotion. Shame can trigger addictions. It can trigger suicide. It's very tightly knit to those actions. So if for a teacher to be dealing with 20 or 30 students and talking about shame, you don't know what those children have been exposed to. So that is a big no-no for me. That makes me very, very concerned. So that's concerning. Some of the material was really concerning. Like, I think it was in kindergarten, they were talking, one of the stories was about a monkey murdering an owl, and it went into detail for kindergartners. I think in 1st grade, they talked about the asexual reproduction of seahorses, and they would show the 4 different positions in which reproduction can happen. Should not be taught in schools. They showed the pictures. I mean, I think you can mention it, I think you talk about it, but showing it, that is soft priming, if you are familiar with counseling terms. Priming of kids, that's criminal. That's no-no. There are things that, I think it was in 2nd grade, they read a book about a mother who gives birth to a stillborn child, and it went into graphic detail about the blood and how the baby was white and cold to the touch, and the little boy thought it was his faults and the shame and guilt that he had because of that. No, I've had 5 miscarriages. We are pretty blunt with our children, but we know where their boundaries are. We know what they can handle and what they can't, and we don't share what they can't handle. They could not handle that. So I can see why these mamas in Tennessee are very concerned about this curriculum. I do know that in my town that public school teachers teach this and are concerned about it, but feel like they can't speak up. So you have good-meaning people that can't do anything about it. But I do know, like, being a teacher, a lot of it depends on how it's taught. And so you can have a curriculum and you can balance it in a way. You can leave things out. You can focus on those positive emotions than the negative emotions. You can bring a therapist in to talk about the negative emotions. So there are things you can balance. It's just difficult. And the question is this necessary to be in our curriculum? And in this dream, it's saying, no, it is a distraction. Because in this dream, when you took out that curriculum, the group, control group, I don't know, the experimental group, did much better. They were much more academically prepared. And when I was asking God to help me dive into this, he said, that is a distraction. Remove that distraction and you will be prepared. Your kids will be prepared. Our children who are in being taught these things will be more prepared academically because that is removed. That is unnecessary and shouldn't be there in the first place. So when I was unpacking this with my husband, he said, Ginger, this reminds me of Daniel 1. When Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were summoned by the king's, servant, one of the king's servants, who gathered them up and was preparing these men to be warriors and to be strong. And so they had 3 years of training, and they were given the best of the best food and the wine and all of that. And Daniel said, don't give me any of that. Give me vegetables and give me water. And so I don't know if God had told him that or if it was a word of knowledge from God. I don't know what. But Daniel had said, give me vegetables and give me water. And the king's guard said, no, because he will be scrawny and then it will be my head. And so they said, just take us, this group, segregate us from the rest, give us 10 days, and then make your assessment. Assess us. So all they had was vegetables and water. At the end of 10 days, they were stronger and more fit, and they looked better than the other ones. And so the guard honored that. And in return, God gave them, to me, it sounded like supernatural knowledge and understanding. Because the king wanted them to he wanted them to be educated and know a lot. And so God gave them that supernatural department of knowledge. So that was interesting when Dustin mentioned that, because it wasn't even on my radar. But when I was reading it, it just made a lot of sense. And his shalom just kind of rushed over me. So what God is saying here is that we need to deprive ourselves and our children of those things because they are not good for their minds. And if we do that, if we are able to separate from content and curriculum that is not designed to best teach our children, if we can do that, God will bless us in academics, most likely, because it's in a school setting. So it's very, very interesting. I would, as a parent, I've already questioned what my school is teaching our children. I know their teachers personally. I know all the teachers there personally. And so I feel a lot more comfortable because I know they're in good hands. I would recommend, this is the actionable intelligence of this dream. I would recommend, if you were to find out what your children are being taught, and if you are concerned, raise questions with the teacher and the administrator, and get a good idea of what is being taught. Because if they're teaching all these negative emotions, that's really scary. Because in the pandemic, at one point, the calls into the suicide hotline was like up 600%. I've known people whose children have committed suicide during the pandemic because they couldn't, there was just a lot. Kids cannot handle this type of stuff. So if we're pushing negative emotions on top of that, and we're not handling their emotions in the best way we can, like with a professional who has done this for a number of years, we need to, it could end bad. So I'm just saying we should be very careful. At the end of the dream, this is very interesting. And throughout the dream, God flashed casino images into the dream, which I just got back from Vegas. And God tends to speak in what we submerge ourselves in. Okay, so if we're watching Game of Thrones and we're binge watching it, that's what we're going to be dreaming of. Dreaming of dragons and kings and all kinds of stuff. But it won't be the storyline of it. It will have a different meaning. So, you know, you watch a scary movie, you're probably going to have a scary dream because God is going to use what you have immersed yourself in and play in your dreams. So, being in a casino, God's telling us clearly that this is a gamble. We are gambling with our children's future, with our children's lives, when we are teaching them curriculum that is not of God. All right, so we need to be always turning to God to make sure that we are hearing Him and exactly what kind of curriculum we should be teaching our children and what our children should be exposed to. Another interesting thing that God showed me in this dream is that He showed me, I want to say 5 Midwestern states. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and I'm pretty sure the other 2 were Missouri and Kentucky because they were all kind of connected. So if I know for sure it was Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, so the other 2 must have been Missouri and Kentucky. But then He took Arkansas, where I live, and He attached it to Ohio. He moved it up from the map and attached it to Ohio. So I don't know what that really means. I'm keeping my eyes on those states because I'm wondering if is going to be a shaking going on with their curriculum and with their public school systems, with the with CRT or social and emotional learning. I'm just keeping my eyes on it. I don't know if there's going to be lawsuits in those states. I don't know what God is doing with that. It could be that Arkansas's, wonder if our scores are going to be raised to the level of those Midwestern states. I don't know. I don't know what those Midwestern states, what they score. I don't know. But I'm keeping my eye on those states because God made a point to move up Arkansas and attach them to those states. So that's very interesting. If this is a prophetic dream, if it's a prophetic dream, this is definitely not going to be an Amazon 2-day shipping thing. This will be years down the road. So we need to keep our eye on it. It definitely has a feel of a warning dream of having us parents open our eyes to make sure we know what our children are being taught. Because that was, my children go to a lovely private school. And so that has allowed me to take a back seat and trust them on the curriculum. And God's saying don't necessarily do that. Like, be active and know what your children are being exposed to. And since he told me that, I've been reading their books, some of their books that they have in their curriculum, and just kind of being exposed to what they're reading, so I can counter that if I need to. And it could be a warning for administrators to make sure that they are choosing curriculum that will truly benefit their students. And how do you know if that will truly benefit their students? You ask God. And if you're a believer, that's where we should always be turning. That is what I've learned this year. is always turning to him. Do not let the government tell you to do something before, or don't follow the government unless you've checked it with God first. That's what he's taught me in all of this. And so he's also taught me, let me take a minute to talk about this because I feel like God is saying I need to talk about this. So God has taught me the last 6 months, maybe the last year and a half, that I need to protect my lane. And so God has given us authority. There's 3 types of authority under him that he's given our world: government, church, and family. So we are in charge of our family. We have complete authority over our family. We should not let church invade that. We should not let the government invade that. That's our authority. The church has their authority. They do not let the government invade them. The government has their authority. They cannot invade the other lanes. And so God has really taught me to, Ginger, stand up for your lane and protect it. Protect it. I have given you that charge over your family. You protect it. You don't let other parents rule over you and your family. You do not let the government rule over you and your family. You do not let your school rule over you and your family. You do not let anybody rule over you and your family. You have authority over your family, and you rule over that, and you protect it like a warrior, like a mama bear. You protect it. And so that's what God has communicated a lot to me lately, and has really structured me and has trained me to do that better. And so that's, I fight back. I fight back now, because that is my authority, and I'm not going to disrespect the authority that God has given me. I'm not going to treat it like trash and throw it on the side of the road. I don't do that anyway. I don't litter. But, like, I don't flush it down the toilet. I respect the authority he has given me. And in turn, when I protect it, he allows things to happen for me to be able to protect it in the way he wants me to protect it. It's been amazing to watch that. He has come through time and time again. I have said prayers, God, make a way when there seems to be no way, and all of a sudden I wake up in the morning and bam, there's a way. So parents, take that authority. Do not disrespect the children he gave you by throwing that authority away. That is your responsibility. The best thing you can do for your children is to take up that authority and rule over your family in the way that God has designed you to. And always, always, always turn to him and seek him for words of knowledge and guidance on how he wants you to lead your family, how he wants you to protect it, and in ways to protect it from other areas constantly encroaching on your lane. All right? That's your lane. And if somebody starts getting in my lane, I'll honk at him loud. Loud and clear. Yeah. Oh, there's so much I could say about that. It's amazing to see other parents trying to encroach on my family, and I honk at them pretty loudly. Holy Spirit is here. He has come down. All right, that is definitely all I need to say about that. He's come down and it's lovely. I had thought he stopped giving me dreams that I can share, and then he gave me this one. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, but no, I'm glad he did. There's a lot of other dreams that I started thinking about today that I think you'd find interesting, and that might help you if you are thinking about dream interpretation, just to be exposed to different things that I have learned and been exposed to this year. Anyway, we will talk about those dreams another time. They are quite interesting. Some prophetic dreams that have already come to pass already gives me chills. So very interesting. Anyway, I hope you find that dream eye-opening. if this is new information to you about CRT and social and emotional learning, I would highly recommend start looking and researching it. Don't use Google, but use other search engines out there to research those topics. Pray about it. Ask God to reveal things if He needs to reveal things to you. Be an active parent. If you're a parent, be an active parent. Go to your teacher, ask them questions. They will most likely be willing to help you understand what's going on in their classroom, because it can vary from classroom to classroom. All right. Always, always, always go to God in prayer about this. Seek His guidance. All right. Go into Shalom.